YouTube UTV 124, Facebook UTV 124, Instagram UTV 124, Twitch UTV 124, TikTok UTV_124, and Flow TV channel 124. Remember, UTV TV for you.
The opinions expressed on this TV program by the host, co-host, guest, and call-in listeners or chatters are solely the opinions and responsibility of the original source who expressed them. They do not necessarily represent the opinions of UTV or its affiliates.
Hello and welcome. Thanks to all who have locked in. Thank you for joining the Revolution. It is Thursday, the 24th of June, and you know how many days that is when it comes to being into the 6th year of the 5-year administration of the Chasney cabal, kleptocracy. My gosh, look at us, look at us. We're on day what? Day 18? Isn't that incredible how these things become normalized? And you want to know the major reason? Because the electorate looks for signals from the professional class and civil institutions. They look for signals from the Chamber of Commerce that something is wrong, the Bar Association that something is wrong, the SLMDA that something is wrong, and other august bodies that have been infiltrated by operatives who will put their loyalty to Chasney ahead of everything and anything else. But like I said, we are on borrowed time. Chasney is not, I shouldn't say borrowed time. We're on stolen time. Let's just put it as it is. And for an immoral government, I keep trying to figure out what do they, if there's something that they do between now and October, right? Like, let's say Chasney now goes and decides he's giving people money through stimulus, which is what should have been happening for the last year or whatever. Do people then owe you their vote? I don't understand. So how you've treated them for the last 5 years so far doesn't really matter. I don't know. Nonetheless, folks, let's get to shout outs. It is Thursday. Irene's Variety Store in Canaries, thank you very much for locking in, as well as the folks over at the Beacon in Soufrière. Dr. Freezer's management and staff over at Baywalk, Blue Coral, and the Original in High Street. Yep, I still go in there for my egg and ambush and the quiche that you cannot finish because that is cheese overload. Wow. Come to be Tire Service Poulbois. Good afternoon to you. Nick's Barber Shop in Corinth. Thank you very much for locking into the Revolution. Birthday greetings going out to Jean-Baptiste De Leon, Jennifer Edward, and of course, Sugar B. Cole Caesar. Happy birthday to you all. Greetings coming to you from your loved ones. Of course, wishing you a great day and many more blessings to come. Kevin from Jetwin, Miss Lucilla from Jiwa, and Vera Stephen, also known as Jello from Saltibus. Thank you once again for locking in and being part of the Revolution. Shout outs to Brother David, aka Hurricane, and of course to Uncle Juban coming from Empress Bobo. Justice Place in Roseau, good afternoon to you. Virgilia's Bar, good afternoon to you as well. Shout outs to all those locked in from Bonaire. Thank you very much for joining the Revolution. Birthday greetings going out to John C. Lowry, or as everybody knows him, Michael. Happy birthday, bro. Have a wonderful day as we wish you long life, peace, and happiness on your special day. Happy Thursday shout outs going out to Noel, Vernell, Jacob, and especially Lily, and also Anthony Jean-Baptiste. Thank you always for locking in, as well as all the residents of Cedar Heights in Vieux-Fort, and also to the residents of Cedar Heights in Kaimajé, Beauséjour side as well. Shout out to all those locked in from Promise Supermarket in Roseau. Thank you very much. This one's special here. Imagine, Chris, imagine UWP supporters in Vieux-Fort North and Forest calling Sky FM to ask for street lights, not their government that's in power. And they're still supporting their party. Man, party loyalty really messing up this country. And Dr. Secret calling to say that there are no bulbs on island. That is why the lights cannot be installed. So much money they borrowed for no money for lights. Well, I guess that's all Pajoa matters now. Huh? Ah, boy, St. Lucia. Was it? Yes, I cannot wait for elections. Muelas. No. Nulas. Shout outs to all those tuned in from Rockhall, Riverside Road, Castries, Kako, Millet, Delse, Grosley Town, Tuapito, Tuya, Oje, Majomel, Lafay, Debarra, Millennium Highway, Hill 20, Babono, Rodney Heights, Savans, Piero, VG, Deriso, Mondidor, Patterson's Gap, Cedars, and Pave. Thank you all for being part of the revolution as well. Shout outs to a woman of strength who continues to persevere in the face of tyranny. Shout outs and salutations to Marjorie Lambert, to you and your entire family. I am sending out shout outs to you because your struggle represents the struggle that we all have. And while everybody else gets to pretend that it's not happening, you are seeing it happening every day, fully endorsed by people like Spider, who can speak out of both sides of his mouth. Shout outs to all those who sent me every cold remedy. I must and I have to apologize to the staff here because I seem to have inadvertently or advertently given the cold to them. And yes, folks, it's not fun, but it's better than having COVID is the only thing I can say for this. And I got all of the remedies. I got about onions. And of course, I didn't want to do the Shas thing of the T-Posh and then have to make excuses for it. But I think I'm pulling through. I do have to apologize still again for the rest of the staff now who, yep, it's my bad, big time. Okay. Where was I? Yes. Justice Place in Roseau, good afternoon to you. Shoppers Choice Supermarket in Palmis Soufre, good afternoon to you. Shout outs to all those locked in from Bonnet. And let's get down to the bottom here. Shout outs to all the Lucians in Montreal, Martinique, South Florida, Manchester, New York, Houston, Texas, and Austin, Texas, New Orleans, and in Nova Scotia, Canada, as well as Paris. Thank you so much for your tremendous support. The messages that I get through WhatsApp and also the emails that I get and also the calls that I get. Thank you so much. You would be amazed how much it means for those who are outside to be able to see and to empathize, especially with the St. Lucians down here. Lastly, to all the political consultants who think that it's a good idea to call Letla and say, you know, big up to Uncle Shas, Flabo all the way. And then you'll have those that will send message saying, Bebe for Grosley and all the rest of that. Now, folks, don't get me wrong. I encourage people to be political in the sense that to learn what's affecting you decision-wise and so on. But to be honest with you, you can say what you want. I'm a fan of RCI. I even have difficulty when Iowa is not there, if it's just money run, just reading the letters and so on. And it's just pure entertainment. And for me, I know that both parties do it and they'll do it. But it sucks. I only want to hear shout-outs and big up Team RCI. Hey, you know, that kind of a thing. Just like when Hits Radio does their thing and Asylum and them. That's me. But for me, the people that calling in and messaging about UWP and Labour, I know it's election cycle. But to me, and it sounds weird to say it, to me, Letla is kind of sacred. I don't know. To me, I just want to just kick off on Letla. I want to hear nothing about no politics there. But anyway, it's not my station. It's not my program. I just say that for me, nobody's going to get me to vote for a party because they give a shout out to a party on Letla. So, one last cough. Where do we start? Folks, both parties borrow, successive governments borrow. It's about the details.
You could not open. The roads could not be fixed. Unemployment could not be reduced. The airport terminal could not begin. VAT Antwe en Leno. Say that again. You know, all sorts of problems. Why? That is the question, you know. We must ask ourselves, why? Was it maladministration, mismanagement, inability to manage? I'm not going to do like people and baselessly say, corruption! But when I say corruption, you bet your bottom dollar I'll produce the evidence. All the talk about corruption, they haven't shown any. The word or the expression that came into St. Lucia's vocabulary in a special kind of way. You remember what that was? Cost overruns. You hear that associated with anything this government is doing right now? No. You hear it associated with the roads or any works? No. But going back again, VAT, they don't want to talk about that. 66% increase in water rates, they don't want to talk about that. Desilting levy, they don't want to talk about that. Unemployment cut, Tremoon, they don't want to talk. That's the past, man, that's the past. Don't talk about that. They couldn't get loans. Why?
But something happened. Something happened that made the situation different. And it is the first time St. Lucia has experienced this. This time around, we could not borrow to finance the deficit. That is the crux of it. Last year, and this is where the crux of the problem is, we wanted to issue bonds of $266.5 million. But we actually were able to raise only $45.5 million.
That's a significant difference.
In other words, we were not able to raise $221 million. Likewise, we wanted to raise short-term loans of $38.9 million, but we were only able to raise $29.3 million. Again, a shortfall of $9.6 million. So what has happened here is that we cannot turn to borrowing to fix up our deficit because banks, individuals, and institutions who used to lend before are no longer lending governments. They're insisting that they will lend you if you get your financial house in order. And in our case, getting our financial house in order means that we have to bring down our fiscal deficit from where it is at 5.8% below 4%. That's the key.
You waiting for me to say something? I didn't say anything. You heard, you saw.
And I think
Who
you
said
were
it?
just there listening to Mr. Norbert Williams, who plays this clip. I tell you, you can check it for yourself. Nearly every single show that he does. I'm not sure if this is some Cambridge Analytica advice, that this is the clip that is going to somehow seal the deal, but he does that, and it's his favorite clip. Now, of course, let's deal with some of the issues first within what was raised under that issue. Norbert Williams is arguing that back then, the problem was that we couldn't borrow. And yes, it was a problem because the country was facing a serious fiscal cliff. And again, if you actually look at the data as to what was going on at that time, we were seeing a potential fiscal deficit somewhere in the region of 8%. That's what we know now. But it's actually lower than what it was at that time because of all the rebasing of our GDP figures. So in fact, it was actually a much higher fiscal deficit. Now, in hindsight, you would have seen it as 8%. At that time, we were seeing it as nearly 11 or 12% of GDP. But what does that really mean? And sometimes we have to understand exactly what we're talking about, because that term fiscal deficit, you heard it mentioned by Dr. Kenny Anthony. Just go to the screen just for a minute. The fiscal deficit, and the definition is right there coming from the Economic Times of India. The deficit between total revenue and total expenditure of the government is termed as fiscal deficit. So in other words, whether you have a revenue of $5, right? And then you actually want to spend $6, right? So you have that $1 difference, right? So that is effectively what that $1 divided by the size of your economy. So let's say if your economy is actually $10, therefore you have a fiscal deficit of 10%. So that's what you effectively has. And it is a measure of how, not necessarily how much debt you have, but how much you are likely to borrow. And this is what the next point says. It is an indication of the total borrowings needed by the government in any one year. Now, of course, that very fancy graph on the right-hand side, you may be wondering what that is showing. Well, this is actually directly, this is not a graph I made. This is coming straight from the Social and Economic Report for 2019. And it shows two sets of information. The bars, which you, of course, are seeing going down because they, in fact, are negative figures. The blue bars are showing what is the overall balance, right? In other words, that same issue about the fiscal deficit, that's what we're actually seeing on that, or those blue bars. So in other words, in 2007, 2008, the government deficit at that point, the actual overall balance was about $100 million in the red. It was below, it was negative $100 million. It came down, as you can see, in 2008, maybe about $30 or so million. But let's see what happened after that. By 2008, now going into 2009, 2010, there was a massive slide in that. And in real terms, the real terms are in EC dollars on the left-hand side. You're seeing that it went up to nearly $140 million. And then it continued to get worse. The following year, 2010, 2011, it was probably what, about $160 million there. Right? Now, by 2011, 2012, right? What are we seeing there? Nearly $225 million. And then, of course, we know what happened. We saw an election, and the government came in. But you see, by 2012, 2013, look at that fiscal deficit. Over $300 million. In other words, in the red, we owe $300 million. Now, on the right-hand side of the graph, that shows what is that balance as a percentage of GDP, right? So, of course, as I mentioned, you take what is that figure, that let's say in the case of 2012, 2013, it's over $325 million. You divide that by the size of the economy estimated in that year, and that'll give you the value, which at that time would have been somewhere around negative 7%. So that's not where you want to be, because the prudential limit, what is advised by the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank and other multilateral financial institutions, is that you should have your fiscal deficit under 3% of GDP, right? So you need to be on those low bars, right, where you, like in the year 2008, 2009, for instance. But what is showing is that there was a complete deterioration of our financial situation between 2008 and 2009, right up until 2012. And then we saw a major correction between 2012 and right up until 2016, 2017. Now, I mean, you don't want to necessarily deal with the politics, but you pretty much know who was in power when and all of that. But the data is showing you that there was a need for a major adjustment, a major fiscal adjustment, because what that fiscal deficit is telling you effectively is how fast you are increasing your debt to GDP. Your debt to GDP, if you have a large fiscal deficit, is racing. So you need to bring it down. You need to be at a point where, yes, you may be borrowing, but your GDP is growing at a faster rate, so therefore you're not increasing on your debt to GDP. That's where you want to be. And we were clearly not in a very good position by 2012. And what it meant, therefore, that the government had to cut back on spending, it had to borrow less, it had to make those corrections, and it also had to do a very important thing, which is also something where I know the government gets, or the former administration gets lots of criticism for, it had to do tax measures, including the value-added tax. But had it not been for that, we would have been in a situation far worse than what Barbados was facing when Mia Mottley came in. This is effectively what we are seeing right now, a major fiscal cliff, and effectively that graph is very much showing you how we moved away from that very same fiscal cliff. But what that graph also shows, and if we could just go back to screen just for a little bit, the change in direction now since 2016. We saw it go down again in 2017, 2018, and then we're seeing again, look at 2019, 2020, nearly $200 million in that fiscal deficit situation there.
You know, in the Obama, before the second term, in that election cycle, at the convention, former President Bill Clinton made an argument, and he was saying that statistically, the pattern has always been that the Republicans explode the debt and blow up spending, particularly on their military, and that the Democrats then have to come in and clean up. Now, the funny thing was that Bill Clinton's success in many ways was actually predicated on the fact that George H.W. Bush, the father, actually governed quite well for the overall country, and that it was the first time that there was some measure of continuity between administrations. It also benefited from the dot-com boom as well. But the bottom line was that because there was some degree of similarity and continuity in the governance, it bode well for the country in terms of the United States. I will never discredit Sir John or even Louise when it comes to their fiscal management. It was a different time. You had a lot more grant aid then and so on. But that said, let's call it what it is. Stephenson King exploded the debt. Kenny Anthony came in and did the unsexy thing, because the truth is, St. Lucians have never felt the IMF. They've never known what it is to be under the IMF like places like Jamaica have. So that when Kenny Anthony did it, it wasn't sexy. It pissed off a lot of people. But he even exceeded the projection because he was trying to bring down our debt to GDP from 5.8, and he actually got it to 3.4 by the time Chasney came in. And what has Chasney done? Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying Chasney would have not had to borrow in these COVID times, but we are $300 million more in debt than all the other islands in the ECCB. Think about that. And all the other islands gave stimulus. Now, because you're getting concessionary rates of interest, it is true that it may be a good time to borrow to an extent. But with Chasney, do you get a feeling of what that extent is? Part one. Two, we are still borrowing, and we have more of our debt stock with Taiwan than anybody else. And what happens if their government changes or their policies change? We're in big trouble. And we're doing projects that are not necessary, like the 150 million US that we're borrowing for us to do the airport. And what does the airport rely on, paying the loan? It relies on air traffic. And you've seen exactly how vulnerable tourism is to exogenous shocks. But you see, Kenny Anthony is telling you honestly that it wasn't that they absolutely could not borrow. Any country can borrow, but they could not do it in a prudent fashion. They could not borrow responsibly. And now, here we are.
We've gone from a debt to GDP, which is the amount of debt you have relative to your gross domestic product, went from 60% to 85% in 3 months. Right? So to go and borrow more money, we've borrowed almost 500 million.
Because this government has borrowed money and borrowed money and borrowed money, all in the name of COVID. And they say it's either for COVID response or income support or COVID this or COVID that. Folks, let me show you over the last financial year how much money, Nancy, don't play with me, how much money was borrowed in the name of COVID response. Could you put it up on the screen for me, please? COVID-19 Response, Recovery and Resilience Development Policy Program. From who? World Bank. How much? 30 million US or 81 million EC. For what? COVID-19. St. Lucia Development Bank, MSME, COVID-19 from the European Investment Bank. How much was it? 6 point something million US or 18.5 million EC. For what? COVID-19. They took money from the CIP investment. They took money from the last one, CIP investment program, 50 million, 18 million US or COVID-19. COVID-19. Look the total for COVID-19, folks. $391,960,000 was borrowed in the name of COVID. Nancy, don't play with me, gal. Don't play with me and call me a liar. For COVID-19, the government borrowed a total of $391,960,000. They borrowed that money in the name of COVID. $391,960,000 was borrowed COVID-19.
Now, you would think that all sides would be alarmed. But some of the logic that you hear on the campaign trail is amazing. About 4 days ago, I was leaving this very station, and the owner and manager of the station was listening to one of Spider's campaigners that I've known. He used to be attached to my father's campaign sometime before. And the guy said, but we cannot put them labor fellas in. We need Chasney to stay there because Chasney need to keep borrowing, sir. So the comment was, what do you mean? How are you saying that's a good thing? He said the labor fellas will not just stay there and borrow, so we'll suffer, right? We need Chasney to keep borrowing. And think about this, folks. Think about the mentality to say that, to think that, or to believe that. First of all, no care or regard for the future or for future generations. That you always know if you borrow, you have to pay back. But what's even worse is that shouldn't we be looking for governance that would say, you know what? This airport loan, we want to renegotiate that. And if we can find a way to get back to a PPP, fine. We have this set of borrowing. We don't need all of that, right? Because if you just take out what Fresh Start would get and what Guy want to get and what Mangal will get and this one, that one, the other, then you would have the fiscal space for you to do a lot of the local programs that you need, the social safety nets, balance your books and all the rest of that. But you see, like I've said, sadly, we're trapped in a PR maelstrom where because the Prime Minister talks with glib words and makes out like nothing is wrong, that the callous and cavalier attitude inspires those types of thoughts.
We had some very important bills to be able to pass, and the level of consultation that I was assured that had happened had not happened. And so it's very important, particularly in this particular season where everything is exaggerated, that we get it right.
That's the word from Prime Minister Alan Chasney addressing the postponement of Parliament. The general public has been asking questions of the current administration after the second postponement of a planned sitting of Parliament in less than 2 weeks.
We had several bills that had several entities, and once I satisfied myself that everybody has been properly consulted and everyone's concerns have been brought to bear, then we will proceed.
The public scrutiny, however, was further compounded by rumors of tension among cabinet members and the supposed ill health of high-ranking officials in the government. These reports have since been dismissed by Senior Communications Officer in the Office of the Prime Minister, Nicole MacDonald. Shastney has chimed in, downplaying the viral rumors as nothing more than the byproduct of a heated election campaign season.
And that's a problem, so every single thing is exaggerated, and everybody's on their P's and Q's. So I think that we have to take those things into consideration in determining how we move forward.
As for the motion to authorize the Minister for Finance to borrow the sum of 13.5 million euros for COVID-19 operations, Shastney appeared bemused by the uproar.
To the money bill, I'm a little bit perplexed because we had the estimates and we had the appropriations. And in those bills, there was permission for us to be able to borrow. We were simply looking to access EU money at very concessional rates, and instead of using it as bonds, we would use it as a loan. And because we were changing it from a bond and treasury bills to a loan, would require and still requires parliamentary approval. But this does not constitute any new borrowing. We're only borrowing within the limitations of what was passed in the budget.
St. Lucia's Parliament will be automatically dissolved on July 12, 2021, the fifth anniversary of the first sitting in 2016, in keeping with the Constitution.
The government abused COVID, folks. They abused COVID. They actually made a prostitute of COVID.
So, folks, I don't know if it's just me. I spend most of my time listening to Shastney and thinking of two things. One, why did he think it was appropriate as a supposed Christian to have the press gaggle outside of the cathedral? Move away. That's one. The second one was, I was surprised that he said perplexed right, and he also said simply right. I think even he was surprised so much, so he tried to fudge it the second time. He said simply, maybe he didn't want to talk about simple and Peterson. But folks, here's the worst part of all of this. He's telling you that because of elections, everybody wants to be on their P's and Q's. So when you were rushing bills, when you all had badly drafted bills, when you all were throwing in senators that were not qualified to be senators, like Jacinta Anus-Lee, all of those things, you are saying that basically you, who are supposed to be the arbiter of good governance and obeying laws and procedures, because they are, after all, government's laws and procedures, are saying only because of elections now you're trying to get things right. Only because of elections now you actually have consultations. Folks, two things. One, Peter Wickham told them that this was horrible PR, so they need another week to see how they can smooth it over as they go forward. But I'm going to tell you something, and if you want to believe it's an exaggeration, it's up to you. Let me tell you what's happening right now. Remember I told you about people raiding the barn? This government, and Mark Mirage is just one of many, scores. All of the FFF, because an election is near, it's a catch-22 situation for Shastney. He wants campaign finance from them after he has made the rich super rich and concentrated wealth among the FFF while the rest have starved. Now those people now, because elections are coming, are using that leverage to get whatever they want, and whatever kickbacks go to the campaign or to put in whoever's pocket and this minister and that and the other, that's just part of it. So those who cannot get cash, millions, well, most of them are. What else is happening is there is a huge land grab going on where what you have is all of the FFF, what they cannot get in cash, they're getting in huge land deals and valuable assets that we have. So, and let me tell you how this started. Under Stephenson King, first of all, you have to know that when government rents properties, the tradition or the convention was to rent for 3 years. You would lease a building for 3 years. Under Stephenson King, something happened. They rented and they leased the building from Nicholas John, the Hugh and Nora building, for 6 years. So it meant that the Labour Party come in or go, it didn't really matter, that they would still have their money coming. And even as the GIS was remote deployed, in other words, moved from primarily being only at UNORA and being put in the Ministry of Health, one unit in education, one in infrastructure like that, Even the empty floors, you still had to pay the rent. In the same token, like Rick Wayne's deal that they want to give, so Ryan DeVoe and them buy the Star Building and they get a 12-year lease, a bolt arrangement, so that the police headquarters can be put off the bus route and put higher up in Masad. All of that is to outlast a Labour government if they come in 12 years. You hearing that? Forcing the police to go up there when there are 3 alternate locations that are much better suited, 2 of which have already been outfitted for the police. But that's okay. And I'm not even talking about only the scouts then. The fact of the matter is that right now what is happening is that who can't get money is getting land. And these guys are busy borrowing more and more so they can just cover, because the whole thing is to do a little papier-mâché thing, just cover over it, while they are absolutely plundering the treasury and plundering the state for tens of millions of dollars. And that's why they have Hennex over at Crown Lands. That's why they are facilitating all kinds of land grabs from the FFF. And we are just watching and saying, why Shasta don't want to call elections? It's because the transactions have to go through. And that is why Guy Joseph is once again complaining about the public servants. Because the public servants are bound. They cannot speak out. So they are trying to put in the necessary checks and balances to slow down. And Shasney will not call elections until all of his henchmen and cronies get our money, get our land, and all of those people are satisfied. So those people in the quid pro quo have to get their money out of whatever is borrowed and whatever is stolen and whatever, and then they kick back whatever else is needed for the campaign. That is what's happening in St. Lucia. But for what we avoided on Tuesday this week, well, Madi Puete, the Puerterian Shasney, will be at it again next week Tuesday.
Same way a home has to live within their means. Governments must live within their means. You cannot be borrowing money ad infinitum. We have to spend right now, based on my last, some $12 to $14 million a month in loans. How can a poor island like St. Lucia survive?
There was only thing that the Labour Party did well was to increase the debt. And those of you who are small business people will understand what I'm saying. You cannot borrow money to pay for debt. So if you have a loan, you cannot make another loan to pay for that loan.
You're borrowing too much money, and like I see, like you're doing that because you know you're gonna lose. Like a Trump kind of thing like that.
St. Lucia's public sector debt has increased by more than 900 million, or 30%, since the Shasney administration took office in 2016. According to this table, St. Lucia's debt is highest in the Eastern Caribbean, close to 350 million more in the red than number 2, Antigua and Barbuda.
Maddie Puete is coming.
Welcome to the Entertainment Nation on steroids. UTV and Hits FM, sinking the eyes and the ears of tomorrow today. Not only can you see it, you can feel it. Airing on channel 124 or tune into radio 92.1 FM is Trisha Lionel in the morning at 11 and the ever controversial Revolution with Christopher Hunt. That's right, we don't do it normal. Stay locked in with UTV and Hits FM, channel 124 and 92.1 FM. UTV, TV for you.
Protocols for international visitors while in St. Lucia. The following protocols are established to guide the stay of all guests while on island in order to mitigate any possible spread of infection. During the first 14 days, visitors are allowed to patronize approved beaches, restaurant, sea and land excursions, and sites and attractions. All visits are scheduled and pre-arranged by their respective accommodation providers. During this period, all visitors will be transported to and from the certified sites using only COVID-19 certified tourism transportation. After the first 14 days, if any visitor wishes to stay on island beyond the 14-day period, they must apply for and receive a health clearance certificate from the Ministry of Health. Visitors will be allowed to travel, be out in the wider public, and patronize local businesses unsupervised once health clearance certificates have been received. During their entire stay, visitors must wear their mask whenever they are in public places and maintain the mandatory 6 feet distancing from others.
It's your boy Dove Tufani and Noah Sales.
And Noah C. And we're locked on to
TV.
I don't always watch TV.
But when we do,
it's always you.
TV.
Yeah.
Channel 124.
It's a which channel?
Shake the bumper and touch the ground. You know you have the African.
And somehow Kenny doesn't have the vision. It's interesting, you know, because the only time I think we've even had a cruise ship berthing at Port Vieux-Fort was when Dr. Kenny Anthony was the Prime Minister of St. Lucia. I think that, you know, and there was even talk about this whole thing, you know, how we could get more cruise ships to come to Vieux-Fort. And there was actually plans, and SLASPA was working on plans to do just that, and they had looked at potential designs for that. It would actually have required not this grandiose thing about Marlin Island and all these crazy ideas which are never going to come to light, right? But a very simple, cost-effective proposal to look at the existing port of Vieux-Fort and to create a berth on the southern side of that, sort of perpendicular to the existing berth, right, for the purpose of cruise ships. And of course, it would have required the removal of the existing dock, the old dock that's there, because it really would not be able to handle those ships in any case. So that was the plan. To say that there were no plans, there were proposals already, of course, for marinas in Vieux-Fort. This is nothing new. But, you know, this idea that you come and you have the vision and you can make it happen. And unfortunately, a lot of it is not true. But, you know, and that's the thing about the politics of St. Lucia. We get tied up into these narratives sometimes that are really just not true at all. That somehow, you know, again, we had, you know, this was John Compton who brought the banana industry when bananas was going on way beyond John Compton. There were plans for Sanssouci before John Compton even came into politics. There were plans for hotels. The first hotel in Grosley was built even before that. But you will hear this sort of narrative because it helps the United Workers' Party to feed this narrative that vision only resides in the United Workers' Party. And that's it. Because you know what? It's like this love of these grandiose type things.
Now, there are some people, when I send that out on WhatsApp, they think you're attacking Sir John or Compton. I will not deny Compton as being a visionary, right? That doesn't make any sense. Over 80 years, you can see the physical transformation of the country. However, he himself also lamented, as others did, that we think of development, sadly, under UWP. The whole pervasive thing is development is all about physical edifices, roads, bridges, hotels, schools, physical. But the Labour Party, as a socialist progressive party, reserves the right to measure how many people went to Cuba to study to become doctors, how many people got tertiary education, how many people got universal secondary education. Those kinds of things also enter as metrics. But the point is that somehow, over time, It is as if it is illegal to claim that the Labour Party had any vision or displayed any vision. Vision resides exclusively with the United Workers' Party. At least Compton has physical things that can be shown. The Compton Dam, or, you know, we talk about the Grosley Highway, the John Compton Highway, stuff like that. Right? The Labour Party's achievements sadly are mired in the 79-82 debacle, where people will not think about common entrance being done by them, established by them, or building 10 schools in 2 years. Nobody talks about those things, right? And the Proud program under Kenny Anthony. But my thing is, why can't we just acknowledge that both sides have a degree of vision? And the truth is, it's not even so much about their vision. Do you really believe that, you know, for example, we still call tarmac and we still call asphalt and bitumen, we call it Barber Green. Because the machines that were being used to pave the Grosley Highway back then, in the 60s or whatever, the brand was Barber Green. Just like my producer reminds that the Daito is actually the name of the company, but we call the Daito in Denry the Daito. And you see how these things become historical things. People think Daito is a patois name, that kind of a thing. The reason that I say that is that to the victor goes the ability to write the history. So the average St. Lucian believes that bananas started with Sir John, when in truth there were 9,000 banana farmers before Sir John. You know, it's like they come, Champagne's one, which I'll play for you in a while, about how, the Labour Party burned down banana plantations and all kinds of stuff like that, and Pat Joseph and all the rest of that. They come with that stuff, but they don't talk about Sir John being arrested for, in many ways, doing the same thing, right? But that's, again, because we don't have St. Lucian history courses. Now, I say all of that because my thing is, both parties have vision. One may be more physical infrastructure than the other. Kenny Anthony won't get necessarily credit because you named the George Odlum Stadium, Spider and the UWP. They didn't name, the Labour Party didn't name the West Coast Highway after Kennedy Anthony, or paint every bridge red for all of the yellow things that are painted for UWP. So maybe it's a branding thing. But beyond that, why can't we just say that both have achieved?
Now, it's very interesting that this government touts as its fundamental achievement the reduction of unemployment. Mr. Speaker, whether they like it or not, the highest growth rate ever recorded in the last 15-20 years was the Labour Party in 2006. As a member of Castle would say, put that in your pipe and smoke it. That's right. The highest growth rate. And you may say, oh, it's Cricket World Cup, as a member from Migu South. Oh, that was Cricket World Cup. You all give people incentives all over the place. But that's a fact. That's right. And when we left office, St. Lucia began to experience its lowest rate of employment, I think either 16 or 15.5%.
Madam Speaker, you see that there's been a momentum in the construction sector, both in the roads and building sectors of the economy. This was fueled by the $212 million in public investment in infrastructure. The activities there, Madam Speaker, is not for us to deny.
But you see, we can't just have an established fact of admission. We established that Sir John had vision. But until Kenny Anthony passes away, then we will not, because you can't give it to him. You can't give him that he had any vision or he did anything of that sort. Folks, both parties have been responsible for progress and regression. Both parties have been responsible for good things and bad things, for attention and neglect. Both sides have feathers that they can put in their cap, and both sides can take blame for things as well. However far St. Lucia has reached can be accredited to them, and however far they have not reached. What people need to also realize is that Stephenson King actually said it, I don't advise myself. The real heroes are the people whose ideas, they never get their name on it. That's the public servants who do vision planning. So when you see Osbert Dovey come and John Compton reading a quadrant plan, there are people who gave input all the way back to Neville Skeet under Labour Party administration, all the rest of that, together with technocrats that come up with a lot of these ideas and vision, this, that, and the other. Compton wanted to put a yacht marina in Vieux-Fort. Kenny Anthony wanted to put a yacht marina in Vieux-Fort. It hasn't happened, blame both of them. The vision to do it, give both of them credit. Now Shasney is going out there and he's gleaning ideas, so he wants to make St. Lucia Dubai and a golf course destination with Cabot and all the rest of that type of stuff. And I guess you can call that visionary if you want. I call it fabulous, because at least between Compton and Kenny and others, they have something to show for it. Unless you are saying horse shit counts as great vision for Shasney, I'm not seeing it. I'm seeing a lot of renderings. But my point in all of this is that because we keep getting trapped in this circular argument where we're in the House of Assembly and we're just endlessly debating, and we're all listening, we never just establish certain things and move on. And that's why so many young people are intimidated by the history and the consistent litigation of the facts, because we can't establish one truth. Why can't Compton be a visionary? Why can't Kenny be a visionary? Why can't the public service be true visionaries in the sense of the word, the unsung heroes in the vision planning and all the rest of that? Why can't that be the case, and give Compton credit for acting on this idea and Kenny for acting on that idea? Yes, they may have come with ideas of their own as well. So we want to say, okay, so why not giving Shasney credit? Because I haven't seen anything that Shasney has spoken about in practical terms come to fruition. Plain and simple.
Yeah, I want to have another sensible conversation here with you. And I want us to be frank and honest to ourselves and to St. Lucians, right?
Yeah.
We've had these two parties in St. Lucia governing St. Lucia for a number of years.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
I would find it rather hard to believe that depending on, it doesn't matter which side of the fence that you are standing on, whether it's the yellow side of the fence or the red side of the fence. I would hate to believe that I cannot look at St. Lucia and pinpoint at least 10 achievements of the United Workers' Party. And I would hate to believe that I cannot, on the other hand, pinpoint at least 10 achievements of the Labour Party.
What kind of achievements are you looking at?
In all aspects of St. Lucia.
What kind?
In all aspects. As it relates to the
okay,
development of St. Lucia.
so give me the ones that you were expecting to see then.
That what?
The achievements that you personally were expecting to see, which ones would you expecting to see?
No. I'm not talking about expectation, right? What I'm saying is St. Lucia is where it is today, not through any one government. We've had these two parties governing St. Lucia for the past years, right? Since other suffrage, right? We've had these two parties running the government of St. Lucia. And St. Lucia is where it is at today, not because of any one government. I may dislike the Labour Party. They have achieved certain things in St. Lucia.
Do you believe, let me ask you, so you said we're going to have a sensible conversation, so let's engage each other. Do you believe in any job that everyone performs at the same level?
No.
Okay, so would you also believe that the Labour Party has not lived up to the expectations of the way the UWP has? Would you agree with that?
I am not going to go to that length.
But then we're not going to have then we're not going to have a sensible conversation, my friend.
Let's be real.
I am being real, but you're not being real. Listen, wait. So hold on. Wait a minute. And every time we call, it looked like we're having an argument. You and I just said, I asked you, I gave you the example of, would you say that everyone in a job doesn't perform in the same level, at the same level? You said you believe that. They don't. So what is the difference between two people working on a job and two administrations' performances? There must be one that is performing much better.
I'm not saying no. No two individuals are like. Your mother may have 10 children. none of these children are going to,
and I agree with that.
To do the same
I agree
thing.
with that.
You understand me? But what I'm saying is, you and I, right? Let's say you and I are both contractors, right? We both build homes, right? Depending on where somebody is looking, okay, somebody comes in and say, what? That house built by Champagne Boy, that is a magnificent piece of building, right? Another person will come and say, well, you know that wall over there is crooked. You understand what I'm saying?
I agree. There's criticism.
And somebody else will look at, wow, that guy over there makes him say, really is a good builder, you know.
Yeah.
Somebody else come and say, you know what, that column over there is crooked. You understand me? But I'm saying St. Lucia is where it is in terms of development, not through one government. Both governments have done things that are
we
worthy
also
of a
need to. Yes, I agree.
I have done things that St. Lucians are not happy.
I agree, but we also have to balance up the performances by the two. We have to do it. I am not saying listen.
That depends, bro, on what side of the fence that you are standing on.
No. We have to speak in general, and if we're going to do based on particular, we're being biased. Let us be realistic and let us be as St. Lucians. The Labour Party has done some work, but they have not done in the extent of what the UWP has done. It's a fact, my friend. I mean, you may not agree with that.
You want me to engage you on that, brother?
Engage me.
You want me to engage you on that?
I give you 2 more minutes because I have to leave and then I have some more calls. Yeah.
I grew up in Miku.
Yeah.
Right? Miku had a dilapidated police station for years. Right? Under which administration did we get a proper police station and a proper fire service?
I know. I know all the history of that.
Now, our healthcare, right, had been in shambles for years in Miku, right? Under who did we get a new facility? Under Dr. Rigobert.
Yes, I was about to go there with you.
Let's look at the development of Miku North, right? Let's look at the development of Miku North. It has been under both parties.
But are you okay?
For Miku, as far as I'm concerned, when you look at the development.
So which development? Great. Now that is where I was going with you earlier, and I was telling you, let us see the various performances, and there must be one that is outnumbering the other. Under which administration that the farmers had a slight chance to make some money?
Under which administration have the farmers made some money?
In Mikud.
Let me tell you something.
I only give you two. No. But if we're going to generalize, but hold on, my brother, and that is why I have to come to your house one of these days so you and I could sit. We have made that promise to each other. If we're going to generalize, we need to generalize from way back. We cannot just go immediately. So
but what I'm saying, those very same farmers were able to build homes in Miku, right? They were able to build homes, send the children to school on the banana industry, right?
Yes.
Today, those very same farmers cannot survive.
Because of what?
These are the persons who have to migrate from St. Lucia, go overseas. So
in 1992, listen to me, because I want to engage you there. In 1992, which leading up to the 1997 elections, who that you heard destroyed all of the banana plantations and burned up all the sheds?
I never heard the Labour Party did that.
I didn't say it. Listen,
up to now,
my brother, you and I need to be realistic.
You cannot go out there and say so and so.
I didn't say it was the Labour Party. I did not say that. But you know for sure. No, you know.
No, I don't know who burned the shed.
You know the operatives did it. You know the operatives did it.
Don't know that,
my brother, you listen to me. I am going to be ignorant and say, well, I shouldn't say you know, but it is alleged that the Labour Party operatives were the ones that destroyed 52 banana sheds and burned off all plantations.
And in the absence of verification, being able to verify that, I cannot jump to that conclusion.
Well, maybe not you, but I can.
I can say also that some of the persons it is alleged who burned the sheds, who were peddlers who who were United Workers Party.
No, don't even say that. Don't even come. No. Don't. My brother, the coupe pa coupe. My brother, wait a minute. But you know the history. You're an intelligent man. Don't wait. So you are trying to insult what I know. The coupe pa coupe era. You know who started it. You know where it came from. If you are my brother, you and I have to sit somewhere. No, but that is what I'm saying. You were going. No. Wait. I only went down that road because you said the farmers that made all the money during the banana era are not surviving today. And I went down that road to tell you during 1992, when bananas were still up there, they went and cut down the farmers' plantations and burned their sheds. The Labour Party operatives did it. And you know that, my friend. Don't tell me you don't.
I don't know that.
Listen, I'm going to make a set on a point. Listen to me. You and I will promise each other to have a sit down. I'll be very happy to come to your house this coming week.
Give me my few seconds. Let me just.
I give you a few seconds. Yeah.
Just give my few seconds. My last point on this, brother.
Yeah.
Is hate Alan Shastney as you may. There must be something you can give him a thumbs up for.
Yes.
Love him as you may. There must be something you can say, Prime Minister. You could have done that different.
Of course, he's a human being.
Hate Kenny Anthony as you may, you must look at one thing and you'll be able to give him a thumbs up. Love him as you may, there must be some critical thing that you can say to him. You know, that
Kenny Anthony, I have always said the 2-lane road, although it was not built with the specifications, the width it was supposed to be, the 2-lane roads from the VG roundabout to the Shock roundabout, where we were having a lot of backups back in the late 90s. I gave him a thumbs up for that, although I believe it was supposed to be done wider. But I gave him the thumbs up. I went on the radio to criticize it, and I went on the radio when it was completed to applaud him on it. But Kenny Anthony, in my mind, is the laziest prime minister ever walked the earth. So we'll talk another time, my friend. Okay?
Okay, my brother.
All right, beautiful.
And you see why we end up in this never-ending circular argument? Because of dickheads like right there, Champagne, that literally, that's the mentality that you get in repeated day in, day out on Sky FM, followed by Dr. Secretion, Sonic Lush. I think if you want to give me an achievement of Shastney's, getting Ring the Bell over to New York, I'm amazed. I didn't know we had a Patois passport. I didn't know. That to me is an achievement. I can give Shastney, I've said it from 2017, I've seen Shastney do two things. One, he had Journée Créole celebrations at the Prime Minister's residence. I thought that was a good thing. And VAT deferrals for people bringing in goods or customs. But the real problem is that even when Shastney has done something that seems to be good, first of all, you never know the terms and conditions, and the devil is usually in the details. And worse is that because he always says, you know, run a country like a business, for him that is inferred that unless somebody is personally benefiting, there's some nepotism or corruption, that basically it's not a good project. So even if you see something that's supposed to be good, there's always some sort of undercurrent of corruption attached to it. And it has proven itself with ridiculous consistency. But I also want you to think about Champagne there. Because are banana farmers not suffering now? Are farmers not suffering now? Are fishers not suffering now? Have you not seen the United Workers Party that was making itself under Compton synonymous with banana farmers, abandoning farmers? Constituencies like Miku, Strongholds, and Dennery, that they've abandoned and mistreated the farmers. Ezekiel saying they cannot even handle $1,500 stimulus. It's a fact. What does he do? He gets banal and he goes on a non sequitur thing talking about burning down, which 52 banana sheds they will burn down. And you see, that's the problem that you have. Because we cannot find common ground, the exploiters like Shastney continue to manipulate us and keep us divided. Because we should be able to say, as a Labour Party supporter or not, that even though I don't like Compton, I must concede A, B, and C. But in the elitist mentality, even though there are many Labour Party supporters who do that, it is somehow illegal to concede that Kenny Anthony or the Labour Party or any iteration, whether it's George Charles, whether it is Louise, anybody in the Labour Party did anything good or visionary. And what you got there is exactly the standard response from Champagne. And that's the problem. That's the problem. So there's no common ground. We have to concede Compton's achievements, but Kenny Anthony, no, he can't. So we can give Jack his jacket, but we can't even give Kenny his Jari.
SLP has no respect for governors, for the government house. Remember Mallet? Remember Boswell Williams? What happened with Boswell Williams? Remember Alan Lewis? Yes, that's the past, folks. That's the past. Let's remember. And they wanted to deglize government house and the whole institution. Remember all the revolutionary mumbo jumbo nonsense back then. Yo pate me lexa, they have no care. Only when it suits them. They even went up to be sworn in at government house in their lineman clothes. Put the photo up. Number 1, cabinet swearing in. Number 1. Metaila for the people to see. Those that don't know. I was around at that time. Look at the man on the right. Critchlow was the ADC, aide de camp for the Governor General. Man swearing in there. Alan Louisi, deceased. Right? Behind him, I think that's Mason. Right? Gregor Mason, if I remember the name correctly. Next, number 2. Look at how they turn up at Government House. Because they didn't want to pay any reverence. They didn't want to pay any sort of officiality to it. Yo mutela kamashe alela. Gasa. Like they come from Lyman. And look at the people on the right. Romanus Lancico and whoever else. Dressed up properly for the occasion. Look at them. Look at them. Somebody said to me that Kenny Anthony had on a Jari. You want to put that picture up on the lawn at Government House? That's cabinet swearing number 2. Let's see that. They said Kenny Anthony had a Jari. Let's see that. I can't see no Jari there, man. Can you zoom in over on that there? That Jari. I see grass. I don't see no Jari there, man. Okay. Yeah, somebody else said Kenny was a Jari man in those times. He only wore Jaris and sandals. Going to Government House to swear in. Well, later, disdain for the process. We want to be a part of the process, but you don't give a damn. It's just a tool to get you in there.
Then you find the Fisher Fox balance. Patient Eddie Mercury say Buddha. And then you wonder Puji Mercury superior, lasts longer and even faster. Mercury C Pro 75. 90 100 seconds, at 200 horsepower. Please warranty on the market and the price is right for your pocket. A Chalma they will make me use my vocabulary. Mercury's performance, durability, fuel efficiency, and patient Mercury give Plibo Puyo. Machine Mercury says C-Pro. Machine Mercury come in on clean way, please it. Let me show them on your Machine Mercury travail bali. Mueble ou koute saidi.
Avant moun te gade Mercury c'est bon da, actuellement Mercury qui met bon da.
Maman, machine ça ou ça bay gaz, mais ou pas ka brûler gaz. Mercury c'est drogue distribué par Island Marine Supplies Rodney Bay Marina. Pour plus d'informations, via 460-9879.
We can win this war. Get vaccinated. We're taking our life back. Get vaccinated.
Now that there is a vaccine, I am very optimistic that we can return to a sense of normalcy very soon. And that means having that first fete, that first concert, that first party. Encourage your friends to get vaccinated so that the sooner we get to this herd immunity, the sooner we can be out there again. The chance to see our local and international artists on the stage performing again to a very captive audience. People enjoying themselves, people relaxing, people letting go. This, for me, is what I would really like to see. So, go out, get vaccinated, let's make it a reality.
Get vaccinated.
This message is brought to you by the Bureau of Health Education of the Ministry of Health and Wellness.
How can I protect myself in the staff room or at work? Workstations and bases are often places where there's a large group of persons in a small space. They're not usually well ventilated, and persons tend to let down their guard in these areas. For example, a lunchroom or, you know, a lounge. It is at these times in particular that we need to be more vigilant, and persons need to ensure that we continue to wear our masks in these spaces. Of course, if it's a lunchroom, you may say, how am I going to eat? That is why the administration and the establishment needs to space out the lunch hour in such a way that you don't have more persons than are necessary in the lunchroom at any one point in time, and that if it is that persons have to share the space, there is still leeway, or it is still possible to have 6 feet physical distance maintained within that space. In addition, as much as possible, windows should be left open and the place should be as well ventilated as possible.
This is a message from the St. Lucia Medical and Dental Association.
Hey, yours truly from the beautiful island of St. Lucia, St. John, and I am rocking with UTV. You are my criminal. Ah.
So let me say to you, we will never be like the Labour Party. The Labour Party, whenever you elect them into government, they forget that they have a country to govern, and they play politics every day. And that is why the St. Lucia always goes backward under the St. Lucia Labour Party. We have to strike a balance between how much talking we do and the work of the people. The people did not elect us to talk.
That's right.
The people elected us to work, and our work is speaking for itself. I believe that the economy has performed almost, and not my words, almost as well with COVID as it did on the Labour Party without COVID.
Wow.
And the numbers will speak for itself. But I will allow when these numbers become available, because I'm not the one generating the numbers. The numbers would be generated by the departments that have the responsibility. So as far as these things are concerned, I don't want people in St. Lucia to lose focus. People can promise you, but all you have to do is go back and look at their track record. How many times have they promised? And how many times have they delivered? Now, my wife said something to me earlier this week. We were having a conversation. No, she was saying something, and she said, if you fool me once, shame on me.
Right. No.
I think that's
how it goes. If you fool me once, I think I know the way this goes. Shame on me, on you.
There's an old saying in Tennessee, I know it's in Texas, probably in Tennessee, that says, fool me once, shame on you. If fool me, we can't get fooled again.
Well, the people of Beaufort South and Beaufort North has to run after those two representatives there. They are that's simple.
There's no doubt about it.
They need to just get rid of these guys.
When the campaign starts,
just get rid of these guys.
I want to be one of the soldiers.
Yeah, get rid of these people. These people.
Because
I mean,
we cannot take another term of these two fellas that have done nothing.
Yeah.
As I've always said, I believe the hardest seat for us is Labrie.
There's no hard seat. The minister doesn't want me to say that. I keep telling him about that 17-0. He keeps laughing at me. We are aiming for 17-0, and it is well deserving because based on these people's record.
I wish I had
this is the basis.
I wish I had the confidence like you. Maybe it could work, but I am sure if
Caller,
had enough. I'm counting 16.
Listen, I am only going. I'm not just trying to be sarcastic on this thing. I'm going on the basis of those people, these people's performance.
I want to make a prediction on your program tonight. The first Labour Party seat we are going to win this time around is Castries South.
Okay, you and I are on the same path, my friend.
I am telling you, as a boundary constituency, the number of people who have come to me and said that, look here, this time, Castries South is coming home.
That is for sure.
To the United Workers'
That is
Party.
for sure.
And all indications. There are surprises in politics. The surprise would be if we don't win that seat.
I believe
the surprise is not if we win it. The surprise is if we don't win.
I agree.
It. And I said it on your program, and I said it in, I'm not sure if it's on your program. I said it in Parliament. I believe, I am 100% convinced that 5 of the Labour Party seats are in contention to be won by the United Workers' Party. But from what I see, 3 of them,
it's for sure,
I would say, is 80% leaning towards the United Workers' Party.
So yesterday, a Labour Party supporter called and said he was speaking about toss-up seats. And as much as I am one who extols what I believe would be a virtue if people voted based on right versus wrong, we cannot ignore that not only in St. Lucia, in St. Vincent, in Dominica, in the United States, in England, you name it, voting tends to generally follow similar patterns to the years before, the election cycles before, which means that there's more about tradition and voting patterns and the psychology of the people and loyalty to a party than there is necessarily on the conditions at the time, the specific policies or the policy proposals. And maybe in some cases, even when you get a landslide of 16-1, the island-wide spread, you don't know, some seats may be won by a couple thousand votes, some may be won by 10 or 20 or 5 or 2. The bottom line is, and the point I'm making is, that I wanted to have, and I want to go in this direction, I wanted to talk about toss-up seats and get your feedback. I'm on the ground, you're on the ground. Tell me what you think, because let's start, for example, with, and I'll do 2 or 3 seats. Let's start, for example, with Miku, not Miku North, Vieux Fort North. Now, as far as I consider it, Vieux Fort North is the 2nd strongest Labour Party seat that was made so not just by the Labour Party, but by Cecil Lay as a district representative for many years. So after Labrie, which has never voted to support the United Workers' Party and had to suffer the shame of having Shadell Mall cross the floor and take that seat technically over, although Parliament doesn't recognize parties, but walk and whine across the floor when he crossed the floor and is now Governor General. Well, the point is that Vieux Fort North, to my mind, is the 2nd strongest Labour Party seat. So I want us to now explore, I'll give you samples of the 2 candidates, and then we'll take a note, because you have places like Pierrot, you have Vigier, you have all these places. So let's start off with the present district representative for Vieux Fort North.
If he thinks he can just yank his way through the foolishness that he's doing, it's not going to happen. Not with our land. So, Madam Speaker, there are times when people you need to draw the line. And the little piece of land I have at Pierrot that I bought, if somebody just decides to come and put something on it, I'm going to draw a serious line. And where DSH is concerned, and all of the glitzy pictures that I've seen on the beaches that I spent my childhood looking for almonds and running behind Tululu crabs, there ain't going to be no concrete buildings on it. I'm telling you. So when we come here and the member for Castries South is speak about DSH in terms as if it's papi show, they want to papi show us. DSH is not a thing about changing the marketing board and making it private, you know, Madam Speaker. DSH say about sir. DSH say about La Vinu. DSH say about La Vinu. And so, Madam Speaker, I say, as I end, that there are times in politics when your tenure in the Parliament has to be defined by historic moments in the time. There are times like that in the politics. When you have to decide that sitting around this table ain't worth much compared to what you have to go through if you live the rest of your life in Bellevue or Pierrot or Grace. The Prime Minister and some of them can live anywhere in the world. Just like they send their children to school anywhere in the world. They ain't going to worry about fixing primary schools in St. Lucia. The children don't have to sit and let rain wet them from the galvanized roof, Madam Speaker. And so when you say that, they say, oh, it's a personal attack. Oh, it's a personal attack. It's not a personal attack, it's reality. It's the reality. The children don't have to endure that. Or when the wind rustles through the galvanized, teachers are running to get buckets of water to put. And I'm not saying it's his fault. That's not what I'm saying. Because schools need repairs throughout the time. We did some, governments did some. I'm not blaming him. But what I'm saying, Madam Speaker, there are times in the politics you have to stand up in the moment of the time. And when I see them probably show DSH, I'm standing up in the moment of this time. And I'm saying, none. You see that foolishness they're talking about? You see that? And yes, I'm visibly upset. Because your patrimony and your pain, there are times you have to get upset.
So that is Moses Musa Jabatis, sadly a victim of the Belrose Doctrine or Chasney Doctrine of starving a community like Vieux-Fort North of resources, while he gives it to Vincent London to go and do little projects to make himself look good. And the question is, even though it's wrong, is it working? Because here you had a Labour Party supporter just yesterday, a guy from Monrepo, Miku, involved in Jeremiah Norbert's campaign and so on, saying that now Vieux-Fort North is a toss-up seat. So let's take a look at London.
Vincent London was sworn in as a senator on Tuesday following a COVID-19 positive diagnosis for Senator Herman Gill Francis.
Oath of allegiance of new senator.
I, Vincent London, do swear that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to St. Lucia, and that I will uphold and defend the Constitution and the laws of St. Lucia, and will conscientiously and impartially discharge my responsibilities to the people of St. Lucia. So help me God.
London, who is the United Workers' Party's candidate for Vieux-Fort North, said he welcomes the opportunity to serve in the Senate, albeit temporary, as it provides a good learning experience for future endeavors.
Madam President, some say this is a part of natural progression in the many chapters that are written for the life of Vincent London. I am therefore honored and filled with great humility. Though this elevation is temporal, it will forever remain a part of my personal record as well as that of St. Lucia.
Messieurs, London we going. This year, London. Mama. Bon, that plane's a long to way.
So then here comes the question. When you do call, tell me, do you think that Vieux-Fort North is now a toss-up seat that the UWP can win? Do you think that Musa is vulnerable, or is this just anecdotal and not so much? And that's supposed to be Labour Party stronghold. Let's go for something more middle of the ground here. And let's go to ancillary canneries as Jackmel, Millet, so on, all these places, Roseau. And let's hear Fede.
And it took us to come in and really to utilize the tremendous strength of the people and also of the charm and mystique of the natural environment.
Why then do you think that you have not made inroads in Labour Party strongholds like canneries?
Well, that is speculative, isn't it then, Crystal? My data shows that we are making inroads, that a lot of the traditional Labour Party supporters are inspired by what we have done and the progress that we have made, and they're now coming on board. And I think that the Labour Party knows all too well that they're going to lose by more votes than they did in the last election in ancillary canneries. Strongholds like the ancillary village, where since electoral politics, we've never won it before. We won it in 2016, and we're going to win it again, and the Labour Party knows it.
So let's take in a little bit from his opponent, and that would be Wayne Gerard.
You mentioned the St. Lucia Labour Party and its very long history serving St. Lucia, starting from George Charles. But right now the St. Lucia Labour Party seems, according to certain segments of the population, not to be connecting with people, the layman, mainly because the party has been accused of being too intellectual in its approach, that its messaging needs to be rethought. What say you?
Constructive criticism is always useful. I think if that is the sentiment, perhaps we could consider using different media to connect with the citizenry. However, I don't think it is too intellectual to ask, can the interests of St. Lucians be served by someone who professes to be a product of Canada? Is it too intellectual to ask how and why did the government manage the COVID crisis? Is it too intellectual to ask the government to put people first? I think when we say too intellectual, I think we need to be careful not to essentially dumb down our citizenry. Granted, if there's an issue in terms of connecting, we need to look at it and do better at it. But I think the questions that are being asked by the St. Lucia Labour Party of the government would not seem too intellectual in my view, but simply asking the question. I mean, the leader of the Labour Party said that we were the worst prepared for COVID-19. At the time, he was vilified for it. Subsequent to that, we are seeing the consequences of that. The leader of the Labour Party said to the government, be careful how you borrow and manage the economy. The government denied that they were being reckless. The new report by the ECCB clearly points to a government who is clearly incompetent and reckless. I think to say that the Labour Party is too intellectual is being a bit of a disservice to the St. Lucia Labour Party and the people of St. Lucia. Because that's where we came from. We are part of St. Lucia. We are part of the people of St. Lucia.
What are the Labour Party's plans? If the Labour Party is elected to serve us as the next government, what are their plans to address the criticisms laid at this present Prime Minister and government's feet?
One in particular, the income tax waiver for anybody earning $4,000 and below, I think is significant in the aftermath of COVID, given the pressures on people. I think it is also significant because of the benefits that will accrue to the business places and the economy. I think the initiative of economy is a major initiative. I think a lot of the young people in this country deserve and are demanding more. It cannot be enough for us to simply be told to go and train to become bartenders and waiters. I think this concept of the youth economy is a very transformational initiative by the Labour Party. Those two, in the aftermath of COVID, will be very important going forward.
Thanks for mentioning the youth economy. Can you expand a little bit on what does the Labour Party mean by the youth economy?
The youth economy it's a very simple concept. It's simply a situation of creating this enabling environment for young people to harness their skills that they already have and turning it into a viable business. Assisting them in the training that is required to allow those businesses to thrive. In a nutshell, it's really a situation of catering to the needs and the demands of young people. They want to thrive, they want to be part of society, they want to play a meaningful role in society. They could only do that with assistance, and that assistance comes in the form of a dedicated ministry to look after the interests of young people.
Trump was causing problem in the White House in America. He refused to lose, but yet still they kick him out of the basket. Chasney, Guy Joseph, Fede, a Kyotimo Pomater minister from the Flaboa, it all l'église Canaria Pomater, il est dégouinement commun. They must go, they have to go.
So, toss-up seats, too close to call. Now, you would think that with the kind of suffering and marginalizing policies that Chasney has implemented, you would think that coming at the 12th hour to pave roads, give out money after starving the people, and so on, would make it fait accompli, and Chasney should be blown away 15-2, 16-1, 17-0. But will the pattern still hold? So I've shown you a Labour Party stronghold in terms of Vieux Fort North. I've shown you one that's middle ground, although the Fede won it last time. It's promising to win it by a larger margin now. And let's go now to a UWP stronghold. Let's try Miku North.
They have no work for young people, no work for people. When the children come from secondary school, how many of them out of a job? We don't have no export, we don't have no factory, we don't have nothing. There are people that working as cooks in the school, and when they come from work, they still have to do a hustle on the road, sell ice lolly, sell things, sell juice, sell jam, sell fudge, sell all kind of things to make an extra $1. It's a one-way street. One contract, one everything. Some people getting work, some people I don't do nothing. Step alone they give me, and I work for my step, and I not nothing yet. I have nothing for me to vote. I have no reason to vote yet. I have no reason to vote. That's not no reason for me to vote. I am ready to vote. We in Miku North, we need a change. We need a change. That color coordinated thing has to stop. I don't mind they vote independence, but that yellow thing, everybody, no, that needs to stop. Independence, whatever, the green, the yellow, the red, something has to change, something has to be done. I tired of that La Jaunisse flambeau. Flambeau à 10 Miku, flambeau à 10.
Game must go! Chasney must go! Game must go!
That's right.
Game must go! Chasney must go! Game must go!
So there you have the supporters, and of course Jeremiah and Norbert. And let's give you a sample of Gail TC Regobut.
I am satisfied with the Chasney government. We have done well for the 5 years, and I'm looking forward to another 5 years and more. Yes, I am enthusiastic. I rate Chasney 100%. Everything he has done, I give him the 100%. He dealt with the COVID well, and I'm satisfied. I am impressed with Gail. We have been neglected for the past how many years, and with Gail Rigobert, we have done quite well. We've got the health center we have been searching for, we've got the field, we've got the only thing we have not gotten on the Gail Rigobert is the jetty, and we are looking forward to it.
Okay, well the jetty is a floating jetty. It's not a... No.
It don't matter, I'm not a fisherman, so I don't know much about the floating jetty and not the floating jetty. But I feel whatever jetty the fishermen got, they will be satisfied.
Okay, so you said that you've gotten, so the Gail has done a lot of projects recently, right? But Gail was in for not only the 5 years, but she also was the leader of the opposition before.
Yes.
So what about those times?
Well, because before she was in opposition. So
and
right now she's in position. I am satisfied with what she have done.
So what about the other 4 years before that?
Before that, like I said, she was in opposition.
No. She was in government for 4 years.
I know that, yes, in government. But I'm satisfied. Before that, everything has its process. Everything don't work at the same pace.
So you don't have an issue if things take 5 years each time to happen.
Whenever it is done, it is done. That is me.
go out to vote, have your say, because what you see before you can only happen with your partnership, with your endorsement, by ensuring that you have the right party in government to deliver to you and your family.
Get that little prick.
That I, anti-girl, have not worked for you in the community of Micoud. Mama Micoud, the government has no money, Mama Micoud. We, Mama Micoud, have to do with what we have. That is the reason why, Mama Micoud, for 4 years, we do nothing for the community. But on the last year of the elections, we make sure we deliver for the community. Mama Micoud, don't be fooled, Mama Micoud. I gave you a field, Mama Micoud. I gave you a health center, Mama Micoud. I don't know if it'll be done by elections, Mama Micoud, but I gave you a health center, Mama Micoud. Don't be fooled, Mama Micoud. They say that Jeremiah is going to win the community of Micoud. Mama Micoud, I urge you to look around and see what I have done for the community. I built the park, inside the park, by my house, in the park. But however, I don't live there no more. I buy villas. I have 9 villas already. I buy villas in the people money. Mama Micoud, don't be fooled, Mama Micoud.
By ensuring that you have the right party in government to deliver to you and your family.
Got one. Go, go, oh, yeah, go.
Or come to the ministry in person. We continue to show that we care. We care because we recognize that we are all in this together. We can and we will combat COVID-19 for our sake and the sake of our little ones. Thank you.
The least you can do is get that little prick.
Carry you fly from here, anti-girl must stay. Carry you fly from here, anti-girl must stay. But then you can make it from we not letting. Now we see something coming with anti-girl and you got
And you see, you have to ask yourself, what really matters to people? What makes them make up their minds? You know, the people in Micoud, when I told them that all Gail's projects were either going to her brothers or her uncle or whatever, including the health center, I was told, charity begins at home. And then I asked myself, do the people of Dennery realize that the UWP, Gail and Estefan stopped the polyclinic that was supposed to be going in Bois-Joli in order to do this project in Micoud, and that the DVRP funds are the same ones? Or how does that work? Or that, in fact, you see, they don't know. And then there are the people that basically they start off on one side, they go to another side. Some see that as momentum, others say it's just part of the science.
Dr. Gail Tracy Rigobert, that's the district rep for Micoud South. Micoud North, sorry. Yeah, she's trying hard. Look, she's just there building a road on that road. Long overdue. My rep, honestly speaking, my rep pull up her socks. My rep is trying her utmost best with us.
So you find she's improved from back in the first?
She have been improved from Z to A now. Yes, I can tell somebody about that. Because I am being around, I can see she's trying.
Okay, what do you think was preventing her from working before?
Well, I feel the other parliamentary representative wasn't working together with her, because all what my rep was talking at once is education, and you will hear Guy Joseph say he built how many courts, how many this. You will hear that other one say he built the road from Louvet. You understand? But my rep was only speaking about education. Now I feel my rep is matured enough. She break the shackles, and I think she's getting a little thing.
This accord, you must pass a vote game.
So here we are, and I'm asking the question. You see, in my mind, if it were left to me and my own thought patterns, this election would be a blowout in terms of the way that the Chasney administration has mistreated, marginalized the country, desecrated our patrimony, insulted our people, pushed people into poverty, been unbridled and boastful in their corruption and greed, and are even doing it as we speak. Endless corruption, endless nepotism, all kinds of law breaking and everything else. But I am not the electorate. I have one vote. Do the roads at the last minute work on credit? The $800 and $1,500 and so on that Estee and Bradley and Fede and so on giving out, is that working? Are people forgetting what they've suffered? Is the solution's temper shorter, or is their memory shorter? So I open the lines now at 5727588, and I'm asking, because most times, yes, I'm willing to talk about other things, but I do want to ask a question of you. Which seats do you think are marginal, and why? Do you think Soufrière is a marginal seat? Do you think Herod is going to win by a landslide, or Emma is going to win the seat? Do you think that Spider is going to win Grosley, or it's too close to call, or that Kenson has a chance? Or maybe he doesn't. Do you think that Musa is in trouble and London we go in? You tell me. What about Denry South? Starbach? Or is Estee for all? I put a K after the for myself, but the point is, what do the people think? What do you think? When you go around the country, what do you think is going to happen in Castries Central? Do you see Sarah Flood emerging once again as her popularity? She spoke in the House about the silent majority that was for her. Is it true? Or is this seat a toss-up seat? Are the same safe seats still safe seats? Does Guibo have a chance when it comes to unseating Chasney? Do the people feel regret or remorse for bringing Chasney and having agriculture and fisheries totally neglected? Or will they be vegled by the water park that's, a couple of hoses that, well, tell me. When you go into a place like Grosley and you go up to Labon, the people were neglected for 4.5 years the last time, and then Spider spent some of the Tom Chu money to run pipes up there. It worked. Will it work now that he has paved the roads on one side of Labon? And will the others who didn't get it, will they vote for him to say, well, if we keep him, we'll get it? Tell me, which are the toss-up seats? Which one is too close to call, or do you have a stronger opinion than that? Good afternoon, caller.
Hey, Chris. Good afternoon. How are you doing?
I'm okay.
I must first congratulate Miguel on this masterpiece of investigative journalism with regards to that land. And sorry?
And it's going to be, and trust me, you have to watch tonight, because justice will be done to Chef Harry tonight. So
Right.
make sure you have your coffee if you're sleepy.
Yeah, so I'm ready for that. I'm gearing up for that. But one thing I note though, I watched the address or the video by McNamara. And
Not McNamara, Mark Mirage.
Mark Mirage, sorry.
Yeah.
My apologies. And just watching the video hinted to me something was not right with what he was saying. At the end of the video, I concluded that he never proposed legal action against Richard Petty.
Thank you. That's one.
He never action against Richard
And even
Petty.
that, even when they propose legal action, a lot of times when they propose legal action, that is just like, it's just grand charge, right? Other things, you have an address, you show in graphics, all kinds of misdirection, Google Earth maps. When you finish, lawyers always choose their words carefully as well, right? And think of the length of the statement. You let Norbert beat his ass for a whole half an hour with all kind of little emails and all kind of things. But when it's you have a man dead to rights, like you think you have Richard Frederick, and you think and you put in bully in text, and
So the graphics was kind of disturbing. And of course, I picked up that he never proposed legal action. That was like a shafty speech, well-written shafty speech to me. A lot of grunt, nothing in it.
Yep.
Next one, the bully in the room, Padua letter. I want to continue being an idiot because that's what guys said. Anybody thinks about Padua is an idiot. I want to continue to be an idiot to speak about that Padua letter. I don't think we understand the consequences.
We ain't letting that go. That just start. And you know, they try and say, Norbert Kevin, that's the past, that's the past. Nope, that is a clear and present happening. Oh, yeah.
We need to hit. Chris, I want to ask a question. How persons were approached with that letter?
We don't know.
We don't know.
We don't know.
How many persons have given money?
But call ahead that. When we had the We Pay scandal, we were promised an investigation. We haven't gotten anything for that. Why wouldn't a government with a bank, a registered bank called Answer Bank, right? Why wouldn't the government be telling you right now that they have contacted the bank and they want to know, or they have identified or whatever the minister and so on. The minister is named in the correspondence and yet he's still saying, I don't respond to documents that in the public domain.
The internet, yeah.
Rubbish.
That's not, we're not granting those guys a favor by being power, you know. Those guys have to be accountable to what happens in government.
Agreed.
If we cannot ask for accountability in government, we might as well forget about voting. Because it makes no sense voting if those guys cannot be accountable to stuff like that.
We should not be asking for accountability. We should be demanding accountability. And sadly, many of the august bodies in our society, they take mumu tablets when one government is in office and they firebrand speaking out every week when another one is in office. Yeah. That's the kind of the stuff that's going on.
Right. So I just want to end in the part for Joe letter. Chris, I believe Guy Joseph has received money with that Peugeot letter. I believe.
You want to be honest with you? It doesn't even matter whether he got money or not. You know what is most important? That a minister acted outside of their authority, which is illegal. End of story. End of story.
Exactly. So where's the judiciary system? Who's looking after? Everything is just messed up in this country.
Governance by confusion. How Shasney likes it.
On election day, then it's pointless. Pointless that we have kids and want them to be doctors and lawyers and firemen and policemen. They will not, because those governments are really messing it up.
Well, caller,
thank you, Chris.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your contribution. I return to the call and I say it again. Tell me which seats are toss-ups. Tell me how you see it on the ground, where you are, and so on. We have a callers on hold. Good afternoon. Okay, well, like I said, I am curious because I move around. I go on the ground. One time I'll be in Canaries, another time I'm in Fort Saint-Jacques, another time I'm in Pirot, another time I'm in Vieux-Fort. I mean, so I get it. I'm in Grosley. Good afternoon, caller.
Hello.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
Yes, I'm just calling breaking news, Christopher. Today in Choiseul, we have pussy for help from the candidate, for the candidate to help The people, he's asking pussy.
What?
Pussy for help.
Which candidate are you speaking about?
I say Choiseul Saltibus.
Yes, but Choiseul Saltibus has 3 people that are running right now.
To help a sick person, he wants some pussy to pass on. I get it from the market. I am dropping it. That is breaking news, brother man.
Breaks in news, in truth. Thank you, caller.
Okay, brother man.
Yeah, I don't know where to go with that one there. But like I said, folks, I'm trying. 484-7588 and 572-7588. We are nearing an election. Who do you is Castries Central a marginal seat? Is it one that will swing one way or the other? It's too close to call. Is Choiseul? Is Castries South? Is Castries East? Is Grosley? Is Babono? What do you think are the chances of Ezekiel repeating? He won relatively convincingly. But we also know how he has treated the farmers and how he has treated himself to making sure that every single piece of contract work that has gone on in that constituency, he gets a piece of it. Even the stones from his quarry get used. So you tell me, right? Is Miss Poyot, is Mrs. Poyot up to the task? Do you see momentum building behind her or no? Is it too close to call or is it a landslide? Do you agree? What's going to happen with regard to Vieux-Fort North, Moussa, Moses Jean-Baptiste? Will Champagne's promise be fulfilled? And finally, the UWP will win Labrie and Alva Baptiste be ousted. What do you think? Good afternoon, caller. Hello.
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, caller.
Yes, Chris. I'm joining your show rather to the end of it, but I wanted to make a contribution, something that has been bothering me.
No problem.
I heard the Prime Minister talking about the reason for postponing the sitting of Parliament.
Yes.
Was for consultation.
Yes.
Is this something new?
For him, he says because it's close to elections. He said that. I played the clip in the first segment.
But listen to me. The SNMDA sent him a letter asking for consultation. The St. Lucia Tourism,
the Bar Association,
SLHDA sent a letter asking for consultation. The Bar Association sent a letter asking for consultation. No consultation. But today, because some of your ministers are not going to attend, or because there is a controversy, there is a war brewing in your camp, you're talking about consultation. Who the Prime Minister fooling is that?
Those who want to be fooled.
Oh, the truth is what you want the truth to be.
Well said. I agree.
Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you. You too. You too. Well said. Yeah. We have a call on hold. Good afternoon, caller. I thought I heard someone. Good afternoon, caller. Hello. Okay. Well, we'll take the next call if that person hung up. Good afternoon, caller.
Yeah, good afternoon, Chris.
Good afternoon, sir.
Moi Kakuto. Je cite yon mwen qui toss up. C'est site Prime Minister site Babolo.
Explain. Dis-moi tell me more.
Moi sort Babolo avec moi même ça liba. Avec nagadi avec moi just kadi pour manière Ezekiel te bat Alvin dernière élection. Qui c'est almost 10 000 votes. C'est un shy vote pour les pas possible.
Exactly.
And even the Prime Minister, mais l'autre site là, la pas ni pesto ça. Tout site garder un gars qui quoi 444. Gars il tous les jours, toi faut une talk show. So la pas ni pesto ça. Moi même quand c'est 15 to. Quoi na ouais Chris. Ni bonne journée.
Thank you. Merci appeal. So, that's the only 2 toss-up seats that he sees. So, do you think that Joachim Henry stands a good chance of winning Castries Southeast? It is curious that Guy Joseph feels it necessary to have a talk show. He even comes on Boxing Day night and on Independence night. He seems to be doing a lot more than the previous times. Good afternoon, caller.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Yes.
I'm a regular caller. I'm calling from Castries East. Tell Fortuna, I'm calling from George Charles Boulevard. You have to tell Fortuna she will and come again. for her to win Castries East. And she has to be very careful. But Mr. Pierre will be our Prime Minister.
So
that's the only thing we're missing in Castries. It's not because of that we're going to vote for Mr. Pierre. We're voting for Mr. Pierre for the change. And we have to get it. We must get it. And we will get it.
Caller?
I'm giving Fortuna that, send that message for Fortuna.
Caller, you don't think that Fortuna has a chance of winning the seat?
I don't see it. I haven't seen it. Regardless of all the flags they put, regardless of what, there is no way Fortuna can win, especially the George Charles Bull. She cannot even walk into the George Charles Bull. That is to show you how serious we are.
So then what seats do you think are close then?
Pardon me?
Name a couple of seats that you think are close.
Christopher, I haven't seen it as yet. I just haven't seen it as yet.
So you don't think that Chasney is going to win his seats? Do you think that what Champagne and them said, they will win 17 North, or that they'll pick up 3 seats?
Not, there's no way that could happen. Jeremiah, with Jeremiah is going to, all how I watch it, I will look at it. Jeremiah is going to, he'll give Gail a run. Baby, another powerful one.
So do you think Baby has a chance of winning Grosley?
Yes, he has. Yes, even Emma, I'm seeing Emma has a chance also.
So those are toss-up seats to you?
Pardon me?
Those are toss-up seats. You don't think Herod will win that convincingly or easily? Caller?
Hello?
I asked you, you don't think that Herod would win that seat convincingly, Soufre? For Seja?
No. I don't think so. I don't think so at all. I don't think so.
Okay. Well, thank you, caller. Thank you for calling from Castries East. Thank you for your contribution. We have another call on hold? No? Okay. Well, I mean, folks, it's y'all, but I found it interesting that a Labour Party supporter yesterday thought that Vieux-Fort North was a toss-up seat. And like I said, traditionally the patterns hold, but then again, we've never had a pandemic election. We've never had an openly, unapologetically, boastfully corrupt government and prime minister. So it's interesting. Good afternoon, caller.
Hello.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Christopher.
Good afternoon.
Christopher, you know I cannot understand something. How can you have a bank like Bradley allowing that country to go down in debt? What kind of bank? If somebody had come to the bank where Bradley is running, you know that bank would be bankrupt by today. If one person were coming and, what kind of money? You know Bradley is worse than Chasney. You mean to tell me Bradley bring that country so low in borrowing? If I'd come and ask some money, what Bradley would tell me? You have to finance the loan, you know.
Exactly. So what does that...
thanks.
Thank you, caller. Thank you. So what does that tell you? That simply tells you that Bradley, it's important to have a representative that has a backbone, that has a spine, that will stand up for right against wrong, that will put the priorities of his people or her people before their own priorities or kowtow into whatever corruption is going on there right now. Folks, I don't know. For me, if this election were to be run and it was fair, and if this election were to be run on right versus wrong, this election would be a fait accompli, 15-2, 16-1, 17 not to the opposition. However, I don't think it's going to be a fair election. I think Chasney and them are working assiduously to do whatever they have to do by the hook and definitely by the crook, pun intended, to steal this election. They just want to win 9 seats by 1 vote. They are trying desperately to vegle the youth. They are trying desperately to buy out the churches and curry favor there. That Sky FM that y'all don't want to listen to, if you do not understand the lies that are being peddled and repeated into the subconscious of people sitting on minibuses, by bars, by restaurants, on the block, then you do not know what they are saying so that you know how to counter it. And believe me, it's mind-bending galore. Let's take that last call. Good afternoon. Hello? Okay. All right. So we lost that call. Nonetheless, folks, since I've had time for me to go back into different clips and so on, I was thinking to myself, during COVID, many people called for diversification. Even UWP operatives like Mr. Peterkin were begging for diversification. Solutions were talking about our food import bill and in terms of agriculture. And I remember the days when Sir John used to talk about diversifying bananas to have banana ketchup, banana paper, and so on. And I was thinking to myself, the only thing, because you know, the whole thing is to give Chasney credit. In these 4 years, I've seen solutions sadly turn on each other, but I look for the plus. And I had to remember what it was like when we entered the agricultural diversification, in the sense that we took Dashin and we weaponized Dashin.
Chill. Please. Please. We want this. Oh my God.
Birthday one time. Don't mind them. 21st July, in mad. Container with van. About dashing, plantation, and absent. Mali, yes, respect, my vendor, my way, Mawani, Afriki, Apasi. What we do? Dashing. What we do? Dashing. What we do? Dashing. What we do? What we do? Dashing. What we do? Dashing.
The opinions expressed on this TV program by the hosts, co-hosts, guests, and call-in listeners or chatters are solely the opinions and responsibility of the original source who expressed them. They do not necessarily represent the opinions of UTV or its affiliates.